Have you ever wondered who Melchizedek was and why his brief appearance in the Bible is so significant? Perhaps you have heard of him in biblical passages or read his name in the scriptures, but have never stopped to think about the importance of this enigmatic character. Melchizedek is a mysterious figure, mentioned only a few times in the Bible, but his impact is profound and lasting. Imagine encountering someone who has no recorded beginning or end, someone who suddenly appears in the story of Abraham and somehow transcends time and traditions. Who was this king and priest who blessed Abraham after the battle and brought bread and wine? Gestures so simple, yet full of symbolism and meaning. Melchizedek is mentioned in the book of Genesis, one of the earliest books of the Bible. He is described as the king of Salem, which many believe to be the ancient city of Jerusalem. But he was not just a king. Melchizedek was also a priest of the Most High God. This combination of roles is rare and fascinating, especially because the Bible usually separates the functions of king and priest. Now, why is someone who appears so briefly so important? Well, it is precisely this brevity and the mystery surrounding Melchizedek capture the imagination of scholars and believers throughout the century. He emerges in the biblical text without any introduction to his genealogy or previous history, which only increases curiosity about who he really was. I'm sure you will see this story with new eyes after watching this video, so take the opportunity to leave your like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Melchizedek, whose name means King of Righteousness, or My King is Righteous, has a special place in the scriptures. He does not fit the normal patterns of religious and political leaders, and this uniqueness is what makes him so fascinating and important. Understand faith. As we explore the scriptures, we realize that the mentions of Melchizedek are like little jewels scattered throughout biblical history, each revealing a unique piece of this enigmatic character. His first appearance takes place in ancient times, around 1800 BC, when he meets Abraham in a moment of conflict and victory. After the tumultuous battle between the allied kings and the 5 monarchs of the Dead Sea, Abraham, the Hebrew patriarch, returns victorious with his trained men after a daring pursuit to Dan in the far north. Among the oaks of Mamre, a survivor of the terrible enemy attacks who had escaped, runs to find Abraham, bringing urgent and impactful news. In the midst of the whispers of the trees and the stillness disturbed by the urgency of the moment, Abraham listens to the words of the messenger, eyes reflecting the gravity of what he is hearing. His nephew Lot had been captured during the conflict, taken as a prisoner along with his possessions and family. The news left Abraham filled with fury and determination. He felt an inner fire that led him to act immediately. Without hesitation, Abraham gathered his men and set out on a fearless mission to rescue his nephew. With 318 trained men, born in his own household, he headed north. It was a journey filled with urgency and hope, finding Lot still alive. Arriving in the north of Damascus, Abraham and his men waited for the darkness of the night to launch a bold attack. Under the stars, they surprised the enemies, catching them off guard in their own territory. The silence of the night was broken by the sound of swords and battle cries echoing among the hills. Abraham and his warriors fought with courage and determination, achieving victory. With the enemies defeated and the captives freed, Abraham encountered a mysterious figure. In the midst of the battle wreckage, Melchizedek, the king priest of Salem, appeared. He appeared enveloped in an aura of authority and calmness, his eyes shining with a special light. Melchizedek appears in the Bible suddenly, without a defined genealogy or origin. He is presented as the king of Salem and priest of the Most High God, but the text does not explain his ancestry or how he came to this position of authority. His appearance is shrouded in mystery, and his identity continues to intrigue to this day. Melchizedek is a mystery that defies complete understanding. He appears in the Bible as a unique figure, playing roles of both king and priest. This makes him essential for understanding certain concepts in the biblical narrative. After the battle in which Abraham rescues his nephew Lot, Melchizedek approaches him with firm steps. His presence commands respect and breaks the silence that follows the battle. In Melchizedek's hands there is bread and wine, symbols of sustenance and communion, which speak directly to the heart. Abraham, overcome with reverence, bows before him, acknowledging the greatness of the moment. Melchizedek then blesses Abraham with words full of power and divine meaning, recognizing God's blessing upon Abraham, the chosen one of the Most High. He says, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." Genesis 14:19-20. In the face of this scene of communion and blessing, Abraham feels gratitude and reverence in his heart. As a gesture of recognition, he gives Melchizedek a tithe of all the treasures conquered in battle. This is not just an act of material generosity, but a recognition of the spiritual authority and divine blessing that Melchizedek represents. It is an expression of Abraham's faith and trust in the divine plan. The theological importance of Melchizedek is that he challenges the established norms in biblical tradition. He combines the roles of king and priest, something that was normally separated in later Hebrew culture, where God prohibited the kings of Israel from being priests and vice versa. However, Melchizedek is presented as a priest of the Most High God, without direct connection to the people of Israel, or the covenant established with Abraham. This contrast highlights his uniqueness and theological importance. The existence of Melchizedek before the covenant with Abraham suggests that he was not bound by Hebrew laws and traditions, but served as a universal representative of the Most High God for all humanity. This makes him a timeless figure whose priesthood transcends ethnic and cultural boundaries. Furthermore, the interaction between Melchizedek and Abraham highlights the role of the priest as an intermediary between man and God, even before the formal institution of the priesthood. By blessing Abraham, Melchizedek recognizes his divine mission and grants a significant blessing after his victory. Later on, in the book of Leviticus, possible second mention of Melchizedek arises approximately a millennium before Christ. This further contributes to the mystery surrounding this figure. Psalm 110, one of the most quoted and interpreted in the Old Testament, offers a powerful and poetic vision of the reign and priesthood of Christ. In it, David describes a vision where God, the Lord, invites another figure, also called Lord, to sit at his right hand. This position represents supremacy and authority, highlighting the exaltation and sovereignty of the Messiah over all things. Although the psalmist does not directly mention Melchizedek, many theologians see this passage as an allusion to his priesthood, especially due to his unique role as king and priest. In this context, Melchizedek is seen as a precursor to the Messiah, whose priesthood and reign transcend earthly and temporal limitations. Just as Melchizedek blessed Abraham and received the tithe, Christ is exalted at the right hand of the Father as the high priest and eternal king, interceding for believers and reigning over all creation. This approach not only highlights the uniqueness of Melchizedek as an enigmatic figure in the Old Testament, but also emphasizes his prophetic relevance for understanding the redemptive role of Jesus. One of the theories that connects Melchizedek to other biblical figures, such as Noah, Seth, and even angels, is based on the absence of information about his genealogy and origin. The mysterious appearance of Melchizedek, with no recorded beginning or end in the scriptures, suggests a transcendence and singularity that symbolize the eternity of Jesus Christ. This interpretation emphasizes the prefiguration of Melchizedek as an anticipation of the Messiah, whose origin and nature transcend human limitations. Furthermore, the analysis of the connection between Melchizedek and Jesus as the eternal high priest highlights the correspondence between their priestly function. While Melchizedek blessed Abraham and received tithes, Jesus blesses his followers and offers salvation in continuous intercession before God. The fact that Melchizedek does not have a defined genealogical succession and his mysterious appearances in the Bible indicate a perpetual life show a complete similarity with the priesthood of Jesus Christ, which transcends temporal limitations and offers eternal reconciliation between God and humanity. Now, let's go to the New Testament in the Epistle to the Hebrews. Melchizedek is a model for the priesthood of Jesus. It highlights that, unlike the Levitical priests, who came from the line of Aaron and had a limited time of service, the priesthood of Melchizedek has no recorded beginning or end. This makes him a perfect symbol to describe the eternal priesthood of Jesus. Can you perceive the depth of this comparison? He is seen as a foreshadowing of Christ. This means that he is like a shadow or anticipated image of what Jesus would become. Both are kings and priests, but what makes this comparison even more interesting is that Melchizedek has no mentioned genealogy. He suddenly appears in history, blesses Abraham, and then disappears. This mystery points to the eternal nature of God in Christ, who also has no beginning or end. This makes him a symbol of eternity. Melchizedek represents a priesthood that is not limited by time or lineage, something truly universal. The Levitical priesthood, instituted in the time of Moses, was based on the lineage of the tribe of Levi, specifically the descent of Aaron. The Levitical priests had clear responsibilities. They offered sacrifices and were mediators between God and the people of Israel. However, there was a limitation. This priesthood was temporary. Each priest served for a time, and when he died, another took his place. This created a succession that depended on heredity. This comparison in the Epistle to the Hebrews serves as a basis for highlighting the superiority and eternity of the priesthood of Jesus Christ, who is presented as the high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. The author of Hebrews argues that the priesthood of Melchizedek is superior to the Levitical priesthood for several reasons. Firstly, Melchizedek blessed Abraham, the patriarch of the Hebrew people, indicating his spiritual authority and historical precedence over Levi, the ancestor of the Levite. Melchizedek receives tithes from Abraham, suggesting a superiority and spiritual authority of the priesthood of Melchizedek over the patriarch of the Hebrew nation. Another important point is the continuity and permanence of the priesthood of Melchizedek, in contrast to the transience of the Levitical priesthood, which was subject to death and genealogical succession. It emphasizes that Jesus Christ, as the high priest according to the order of Melchizedek, is superior to the Levitical priest because he is eternal and indestructible, not subject to death and therefore not in need of successors. This theological exploration highlights the importance of the priesthood of Melchizedek as a foreshadowing of the eternal priesthood of Jesus Christ. Thus, the priesthood of Melchizedek serves as a foundation for understanding the redemptive and intercessory work of Jesus Christ, who offers eternal salvation and direct access to God for all believers. The theological importance of Melchizedek, in this context, challenges the norms established in biblical tradition. He is presented as an unusual character who combines the roles of king and priest, a duality that was normally separated in religious and political practices of time. While in later Hebrew culture, God prohibited the kings of Israel from assuming the role of priests and vice versa, Melchizedek is presented as a priest of the Most High God, with no direct relationship to the people of Israel or to the covenant established later with Abraham. His existence prior to the covenant with Abraham suggests that he was not bound by the specific laws and traditions of the Hebrew people, but served as a representative of the Most High God for all of humanity. This makes him a universal and timeless figure, whose priesthood transcends ethnic and cultural human boundaries. In addition, Melchizedek is described as blessing Abraham, recognizing him as an instrument of God, and granting him a significant blessing after his victory in battle. This interaction between Melchizedek and Abraham highlights the spiritual authority and role of the priest as an intermediary between man and God, even before the formal institution of the Levitical priesthood. Understanding the practical and spiritual implications of the new covenant established by Jesus, based on the priesthood of Melchizedek, offers a profound insight into the nature of the relationship between God and humanity. By contrasting the Levitical priesthood, with its temporal and ritual limitations, with the priesthood of Melchizedek, which is eternal and transcends ethnic and temporal boundaries, we are led to consider the universality and eternity of God's redemptive plan. Furthermore, understanding the priesthood of Melchizedek invites us to delve deeper into the spiritual truths revealed in Christ. Just as Melchizedek blessed Abraham and received tithes from him, Jesus, as the eternal high priest, blesses us and invites us to offer our lives as a living sacrifice. This reality challenges us to live in constant gratitude and surrender, recognizing the supremacy of Christ in all areas of our life. May the story of Melchizedek inspire us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any new content. God bless you all and see you next time.